faces. Troy, smile every time I need you to. You make me feel good. So I can only actually look at 6 of you. So I'll call you out as no, I'm kidding. All right, let's get going. So we got 1 hour. We're going to knock out building a value proposition for your clients and for your team. I really, just so you know, I'm really not a fan of obviously Zoom training because I can't really engage and know who's in the room. So I'm going to make the assumption that we've got a lot of individual agents out there, as well as rainmakers. I will say that I'm most passionate about this class for the rainmakers, as they have teams, or if you've thought about having a team, or if you want to grow your team. You know, it's really the concept and conversation of value, but also as you think about even the brokerage, what the value of the brokerage, you're now led by a team leader. Not that you weren't before, but I'm just telling you who I am. I'm always talking in the aspect of who I am. And that's not judgment on previous or future or any other, leadership of any kind ever. My focus is always about value. You are led by a leader that's continually focused on value, providing value, reminding you of that value, holding that value accountable. But let's talk about that, because that word's way overused, and it's very, it's not frequently understood. So let's get going, and we'll kind of bounce in. What I want to do is I'm going to start out with the clients, building a value proposition for your clients. So it's a little bit more understood than perhaps the team, but I'll start with clients and it'll roll into the team, for example. So why do you even have a value proposition at all? What is a value proposition? It's the foundation of your business. It's the number one problem that agents have today is their concept of being a realtor is it's like, yes, it is a popularity contest. And so it's like, well, work with me because you like me the best. Okay. If I say work with me because you like me the best, that's not a value proposition. There's literally no value in that. And those realtors typically don't have a very long way to go in this real estate industry until they start to do what? Start to create a value proposition. And we'll define what that is here shortly. Well, it defines your values as a person going beyond the brokerage. Okay. So, there's 180,000 realtors at Keller Williams, right? So what makes you different than the other 179,999 realtors that are there? Okay. It has to be unique is what we're getting at there. It reflects your mission and the reason why you are even motivated to do anything for them, right? You have to help them understand them being your clients, whether it be on the buy side or the sell side. Why are you motivated? I think a lot of you folks that I've met with, I've had the privilege of meeting with a lot of you. And, you've heard me talk about what motivates me and what does not motivate me. That's an important thing for you guys to understand. Because it identifies what value what I can bring to the table. If I'm with a client, it's okay to say that I'm going to sell your house because I want to beat all the other realtors because I'm competitive. It's fine if that's genuinely what you're motivated by. Homeowners will appreciate the competitive nature of your realtor. That means you're a hustler. That means you're high energy. That means you're going to win, right? And winning is selling your home for more than the next guy or what have you, right? So it defines your motivation. It's what makes you special. There's 20,000 realtors in Ohio. What makes you different than those other 20,000? Without this foundation, you have nothing to build on. So the core of your values as a person, but your value proposition, things that you can bring to the table that are uniquely you. So for example, and again, let's see, I'll pick, like a Troy, I said, I'd pick on you, and I think people know you. Troy has a giving, caring energy that is different than, and it's unique to Troy. Okay. Troy will laugh. Troy doesn't know I'm about to say this. I literally looked out my window the other day. This is so true. And actually made my heart happy. So there are these little sticks that define where the snow plows can plow or not plow. And there were 2 of them that I personally drove over. He's laughing because this is how true. If you can see his video, go find him. But I drove over them, right? This is me. I'm just, I think, average, normal person. But anyway, and I parked. And as I'm sitting here, I watched him and he picked up the 2 out of the middle of the road. They had obviously been blown over, knocked over, and he put them back into the appropriate position. And then he walked into the office. He did not have to do that, but somebody's rim on the side of their car is just saved, or the snow plow is not going to slam into the thing. He has a caring, natural persona That indeed is unique to Troy. Okay. Now, granted, there might be 60 other people that have that same but it have that same attribute that makes them a little bit more unique than. I hope that makes sense. For example, mine is energy and passion, right? High energy. Not everybody has like a high motor, like they talk fast, they're high energy. Talk fast doesn't mean they don't trust you all the time, by the way, either. I know it's like, oh, he's a fast talker. That doesn't necessarily mean there's less trust built in there. In fact, they did a study, and I'm not going to do any profanity. I don't recommend profanity, but it actually has been shown that people that use small amounts of profanity have higher levels of trust. Like people actually trust them. Okay, so that's a tough one. That's a psychological conversation. I'm not recommending it. I'm not suggesting it. And by the way, feel free to chime in, just like if we were in an office. But I did hear somebody in the background talking and stuff like that. So I'll look at all the wonderful people that have joined. So we got a lot of good talent here on this. Now, no pressure. Okay. I hope you didn't join as I'm saying use profanity. The point is, because I'm not saying that. I'm saying that high energy is also part of a value proposition, right? So is care and concern, like Troy, for example. Let's go on to without having that foundation, you can't build your marketing. Your marketing is going to be based around your value proposition, who you are. Your team foundation. If you want to grow and leverage and grow a team, you're going to need to have a foundation that the whole team understands. And we'll get into that a little bit later. And then you have no answer to difficult situations and decisions. If you don't know what your values are or your proposition of a collective group of values, then when you're in a situation with a team member and the commission should be this or this, and there's really no answer. For example, I gave you a team lead and it's on a certain level of split, but then that team, let's say that buyer bought the house and then he lost his job and now he needs to sell it in 2 weeks. Is that also a team lead or not? Well, it's my fault as the team leader for not defining that previously in an agreement. So therefore it's really a gray area. Now I'm going to own it because my value set says, if it's gray, I lose, right? That's just what I think a leader does, kind of a thing. That's just my own value proposition to an agent on my team. Does that make sense? Now you start talking about who you are as a whole set of values. But anyway, let's move on. What is a value proposition? It's an value. It's an innovation. It's a service or it's a feature intended to make a company or product attractive to customers. So the intention of a value proposition is to attract. Okay. So I think a lot of times people are making marketing pieces, but they haven't really defined what their set of values and unique value proposition is. Does that make sense? I hope that does. I hope people are kind of getting what I'm saying there. I really hate the fact that I can only see 5 at a time. Please, like I said, okay, I got a thumb for, yeah, there we go. I'll go back to Troy. He gives me that interaction I'm looking for, except he's too nice. He's just going to give me positive reinforcement all the time. I'm never going to have any like eye rolls from Troy. All right. So it's a concrete, tangible offering of benefit. And please, I guess what I'm saying is interact. If you have questions, stop me. Just unmute yourself and just talk over me because I'll just keep going. It's a concrete, tangible offering of benefits. Okay. It's tangible. It's not pie in the sky. It's not like I'm a realtor that's going to work hard for you. Like that's sort of a euphemism. That's, you know what I mean? It's, you got to be sincere, honest, and it has to be something that's measurable or something that you can go deeper, dig deeper in. If I'm going to work harder for you, I talked to a realtor yesterday, said they were a 24/7 realtor. Of course, that was a mistake because then people would test it and call her in the middle of the morning and test her on that. But what she was doing there is trying to put validity to the value of saying it's more than just a euphemism. It's I actually do work hard. I will work 24/7, what have you. And so that's where she went too far trying to prove that. But you want to make sure that you're saying client centric. That's everybody can say that, but you have to validate that through a unique, different offering that clearly sets you apart. So they need to understand why you are better than the other options. So who's they? The clients, right? The clients, the buyers and sellers. If they don't understand why what you're doing is different than the other folks, then you've kind of missed the mark and you're not inspiring or attracting them to work with you. Okay. you and your team must have and understand and be able to articulate it. Okay. So now one thing is, and I'll use this one a little bit later too, Ryan, if you don't mind. Ryan Reynolds sent me over a fantastic, well thought out value proposition for people who want to join his team. It's awesome. It's actually one of the best I've ever seen. So thank you.
Just to be clear, it wasn't mine. It was Jillian's on my team. So I've given her all the credit because I may have proofread a piece of it, but she did all of that.
Oh, okay. Thanks, Jillian. I'm really impressed. Like, well done. And yes, Jillian, you're the one of the people I can see. So thank you for your positive thumbs up and reinforcement. Okay. So also you too, Justin. So smile a little bit. Come on. No, I'm just kidding, Justin. I like your wrapped present behind you. That's pretty cool. Anyway, so that value proposition that Jillian created, not Ryan, was fantastic. The key is though, can everyone on Ryan's team and everybody understand and articulate it? And not just fall into certain parts of it that they like the best, right? Because a value proposition needs to be a list of things, and we'll get into this, and I'm probably spoiling it a little bit, but the general thought process is not what do you find valuable, but what does somebody that you've never even met with before in your life find valuable? Can we all agree that different people find value in different things? Okay, this is going to be a theme that I talk about as we kind of move forward through this. Let's see. So, okay. And a value proposition should benefit the client entirely, more of them, less of you. Okay. So the value proposition shouldn't be self-gratifying in most cases. It's going to be more of that servant level type stuff, right? Because people want to know what's in it for them. So this is your opportunity to tell them just that. So what are possible values to propose? I think a lot of times agents don't really take the time to go down all the different avenues of value. I guess I could ask, well, again, this is for the homeowner, right? So do you have better marketing than other people? Remember, if you don't tell them, they don't know. Right? It's your job to articulate. That's part of the value proposition. It does you no good if you don't tell the world. Are you bilingual? Do you specialize in older homes? If you're a new realtor and you've just sold 10 homes, and of those 10 homes, 6 of them were built in the 1980s, my friend, you now specialize in 80s construction. I mean, if you're going on a listing of a house that's built in the 80s. So, I mean, that's a specific, unique value that you bring to the table. So your experience, a lot of realtors just take for granted, well, yeah, I'm a realtor just like any other. You've been a realtor for 15 years, for 9 years, for 20 years. I mean, that has to be something that you bring up, because guess what that is? It's a differentiator. Now, and the more of these that you have, so if you're giving and caring like Troy, if you've been in real estate for 20 years, if you sell homes, the last 6 of the 10 homes you just sold were built in the 1980s, do you see how you're starting to make yourself unique, especially if you're going on a listing, right? For a house in the 1980s. So charity, do you give back to the community, right? Just because you don't think other people, and I understand that you shouldn't make a deal of that. Obviously, you want to give quietly. You don't necessarily want to be, hey, look at me. At the same point, people want to affiliate themselves and find value in other people that give back, okay? So it is okay to talk about your focus and your passion for charitable organizations and stuff like that. Results, if you outsell somebody in one area or another, and this is what's so, and I know a lot of top agents struggle with this, is, oh, they're pretentious. They're talking about the results. Your results are your value to a lot of people. They want to know that you sell a lot of houses in Dublin, in historical homes, condos. Really find your niche. Everybody has somewhat of a niche in some sort. And again, articulate that result as part of your value. Communication. If you don't have a ton of business, say, I wish, again, I really don't like the Zoom experience, of course, and I apologize for that. Because I really can't get engaged. I'm one of those speakers that really likes to engage the audience. But if you're a brand new agent and you've never sold a house yet, one of your values could easily be that you can communicate more than that one realtor that's selling a bazillion houses or what have you, right? I can tell you right now, I have the inability to, if I list a house tomorrow, to give the communication that's necessary for a homeowner to have a great experience. Okay. Because a value proposition is really defining an experience of the client that you're having. And communication is part of that experience. So my weakness becomes a brand new agent's unique value proposition that I can't really compete with as well. Because I'm not going to call a seller every night, or I'm not going to give feedback after every showing. And for the team leaders that are sitting out there, what happens is when you get to about your 40th home, if you're all by yourself and you get to your 40th home, your ability to follow up with clients starts to fall and your service levels go down. So let's use like, can anybody think of a company in America, just any company that had great service at one point and then all of a sudden it fell off? Like anything that we call, say that?
Verizon,
right. Sears and Roebuck. Okay. Yeah. So as consumers, I just heard two great examples, right? And guess what, kids? Perception's reality. Even if Verizon and Sears, even if their service levels didn't fall off, there's two consumers out there that believe in that so much they spoke up in a Zoom call to say that out loud. And generally speaking, I'm sure they're right. And what happened is when Verizon was small, it was very customer centric, and then they didn't scale up, they didn't leverage, they didn't keep with it as time went on, and their service levels started to fall off. That's why Gary Keller talks about leverage all the time, right? Because you want to keep that standard of service as you move along. There's a specific model that you can follow to continue to have high levels of service as you continue on. But getting back to the point, communication could be a great value proposition for you. Client appreciation events, negotiations, and I know you guys can read. Let me just hit on I'll just go through them. Financial strength. The team concept. If you have a team, obviously lean into that. Let people know that there's multiple people trying to sell your house versus one. If you're an individual agent, say, I'm going to give you that, that personalized touch and attention that a team just can't do, et cetera. Like you can always have a script or a value proposition conversation with your clients based on any segment, wherever you are. There's always an advantage. You just have to define what that advantage is. Your global reach network. I mean, look at our office. I mean, if we're the largest real estate company in the world. Your network of realtors. A lot of people overlook this, and it's the number one value. I think the number one value of Keller Williams Consultants is the network of realtors that you're all affiliated and associated with. So if you are not the luxury home specialist of Wedgwood or what have you, well, do you know that somebody in this office right here has a pretty good sales record in Wedgwood? Guess what? If they list with you, you have full access to that network. What makes you unique is that you're in the same office with a lot of the top agents in this area. Oh, by the way, so then you'd say, well, I don't want to say that because they might go list with them. They won't, because you have the relationship. The relationship is the tightest part of that. Now, if you don't have a tight relationship, I wouldn't say, hey, it's Tim Reel and here's his phone number. I would just say generically, 9 of the top realtors in Dublin home sales are in this office. Isn't that a powerful value proposition that makes you unique because you're a part of consultants? It's just, again, I'm trying to inspire thought. If at the end of this 1 hour, you're able to add 4 or 5 more things to your value, then I hope that was worth it. I want you to really write this out. You've got to write out the values that make you different, or you won't win that next listing that you don't know is coming yet. There's going to be a kitchen table in 2021 that you wish you had at least 4 or 5 more arrows in your quiver. Technology, obviously the office, obviously Keller Williams Consultants is a technology leader. But again, when you talk about value, you got to get specific. What about technology makes you better, right? And so go a little bit deeper into, because technology is a euphemism. It's just a generic overall blanket statement. Every realtor is going to say we have technology. You've got to break it down into, I just met with David Sattler. I'm going to build a landing page. And on that landing page, I'm going to have a virtual flyer. That virtual flyer, I'm going to put a sign out in front of the house where you simply take your phone. It's a QR code. It opens up the virtual flyer. COVID-friendly solution for my clients. That's technology advantage. That's a value proposition. And all of you have access to that. It's super simple to do. It's just a matter of not just talking about it, but laying it out in that value proposition. And then remember what we said, without this, you can't even build marketing strategy. So now that you have this, let's think of a good post for Instagram next week. Oh, I know. I could talk about my virtual flyers. Do you see how it all kind of ties together to your core value proposition? Do you have an area wide focus, or do you focus specifically on one neighborhood? There's no right answer. There's just a unique answer that makes you guys uniquely what you are to that consumer. I'd modify your value proposition a little bit depending on what opportunity you're trying to get, or veer away or towards, lean into or lean away from things that'll make you stronger or weaker. And I know that's a little commonsensical, but remember, I'm really just having a larger conversation. And I think a lot of agents sometimes just don't take a step back to focus on this.
Greg, can I add something here that may be a little value?
Yes.
I always try to go into an appointment and try to find out who I'm competing with. So if it's Sandy Rains with AGR, I always talk to people and tell them, well, I'm kind of like the chief cook and bottle washer. I'm in that in every aspect of your listing. You're never going to meet Sandy Rains because she's sending out the B player to list your home. She's going to turn it over to somebody else that doesn't know anything about your home and try to market your home. I have always used that concept of somebody's bigger than I am, then I kind of downplay them. Well, they're the area specialist. That's exactly right. She's got 20 New Albany listings and I have 1 or 2. Which one do you think she cares about selling first? It's not going to be yours. It's whichever one that happens to sell first. And for the smaller agents competing against larger agents, basically you just have to out-service those people. You touched on stuff like Troy picking up the sticks out in the parking lot. Basically, don't walk by the newspaper at the end of the driveway. Bring it up, hand it to the people, bend down and pet the cat, say hello to their children. A lot of people walk in and don't pay any attention to it. I've won listings on every one of those things I just mentioned because the people think that's a big deal. That cat never likes anybody. It's all over you. It's because I sprayed myself with catnip before I went. So
that's awesome. So. Now that's some deep. I love that. That's fantastic. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah. So, and I got to hold myself accountable to time frame. So I'm going to try to roll through. What are some marketing examples? A lot of times people say, I'm going to market your home better than. Okay. Well, part of your value proposition, yes, marketing, but now you got to break it down. So. Professional web designer on staff, custom signs that light up at night, community videos, social media expertise or staff. If you have a bunch of followers on YouTube, talk about YouTube, for example. Why is YouTube important? Because Google owns YouTube. So if I have a website that says, or if I have a video and in the video, the meta tag says top Dublin or Muirfield homes for sale, for example. Don't you think, Mr. Seller, that video might pop up because it's a YouTube video and, everybody's going to Google, Muirfield home for sale. Okay. Well, Google's going to cheat the videos, not on Vimeo, of course. They're going to cheat the videos that are on YouTube and get them up into Google's golden triangle. One of the first things that show up when you long search something. Just as an example, like if you have 100 followers on a YouTube channel, that's worth bringing up because the other realtor might not even have one. But again, so I guess what I'm saying is don't sell yourself short. Don't assume everybody's doing what you're doing. Just continue to lay out your entire value proposition to them so that they understand why you're unique, different, and better. If you're a premium member of Zillow, don't forget to talk about that. Postcards, farming area. We've got some great postcard farmers in this office. If your flyers are better than the next guy, or girl, great. Virtual flyers, we talked about that. Open houses. If you have the best open houses and you got a clown out front or a virtual open house, a safe open house, whatever, I actually picked up, I won a listing because I showed them we had a COVID plan, right? Whereas the other realtor just said, yeah, we will wear booties and require this or that. It wasn't really a plan. And they had asthma. Their daughter had asthma and said that wasn't good enough for me. But you actually came in with a written down, that's key, written down. I was able to hand them the COVID plan, right? It's sort of like Ryan Reynolds and Jillian, they handed me a value proposition for their team. Like it's in writing. It can't just be like, you need to all take the time to kind of write this down and make sure that it's something you can present. And as you write this down, that's what today is about, is really try to think about what is your value proposition and what are the details of your value proposition. Jerome, 3D Matterport. Do you realize I still show Matterport and people's minds are blown? You guys are all realtors. I know you know what Matterport is. It's a 3D internal graphic layout of the house. When I bust out Dollhouse and I spin the house around twice, I still can't think of the last person I've met with that didn't go, oh my goodness, that's fascinating, right? So don't take for granted, these homeowners don't know what that is. You guys obviously do, but remember, you're in the industry, so continue to write down the values that both you think they might already know or that they don't know, but don't leave anything out because that's your opportunity to win. Okay, so now client appreciation. So there's different types of value. There's marketing value. There's client appreciation value. Some people will list with you because they're excited about getting the free photography at Thanksgiving, or like the Easter lily that their friends have told them that you do, or talk about that at your listing presentation. And what you're really saying is, I care about you, right? Again, if this is not in your brand set, if this is not something you do, that's okay. I can tell you that from a client appreciation standpoint, we give away holiday calendars, but I wouldn't say that's client appreciation. I wouldn't say our team has much of anything. We don't do any of this. Oh, we do tables and chairs, actually. We have a bunch of tables and chairs that anytime somebody wants to borrow them, like any of our clients, they can, we have 300 chairs and 25 tables, if they want to have a picnic outside or whatever, graduation, that kind of stuff. But anything that you guys do for client appreciation, there's value in that. And you want to define that in your value proposition.
Hey, Greg.
Yes, please.
Can I just add one thing really quickly? You've been a part of them too lately, but it's Gary, every Zoom I've had with Gary in the last probably 60 days, he said your word of the year needs to be community. Like, that's why we've talked about that as a market center, as both market centers, and as agents, when I put on my agent hat, talking about that for my clients, like, how can we build community? And that last slide that you just had pulled up, while some of those things may seem, things may seem like just like another check off the box, if we can figure out a way to build community and to continue to even create communities around our clients too, that's going to be the sticky factor, in Gary's words, that's going to hold them to us. No matter if somebody from blanking on the name comes in right now and is it Redfin? Yeah. Comes in and says they're going to list their house for 1%, or, whatever it is, no matter if people are getting downward press commissions, if they have a sticky factor with us because we've created a community, and or they're a small business owner, or they're an independent contractor, and we're bringing business to them through our client community, like, all of those are reasons that are going to make people continue to use us when they really could go list with Zillow or, whoever for cheaper. It's that community and the client appreciation part of that. It seems like a small thing, but it's really not.
Yeah. I've asked 45 or 50 of the top agents in our office what they find most valuable. And it's, in short, it's community. It's the community of each other in this office. You're the value. I said that in today's meeting. It's that sense of community now more than ever, for sure. Cool. Thanks. Now I'm not under any pressure because Dana's on watching me. Okay. Got it.
Dana's taking notes. Dana is writing notes and taking lessons myself. So thank you.
Okay. Thank you. See, she's so gracious. That's part of her brand and value. Grace. All right. Thank you. Transaction process examples. So you can have value within the transaction, right? The actual paperwork part of it, the non-community, the non-relationship part of things. But you could have you could have a shorter term agreement. You could say, fire me after 30 days or anything like that. No junk fees. There's a lot of agents. In fact, our office doesn't have any of these junk fees or additional commissions or whatever. Remember, when you go up against HER, they're slamming these fees. Now, some teams you can do your own, or you can do whatever. There's no judgment here. But if you're not charging a junk fee like Remax is, like Howard Hanna is, like HER is, like these guys are, why are you not bringing that up? Right? There's a level of trust that comes from the fact that you didn't decide to do that or what have you. If you do decide to do it, that's fine. Then understand, where is that value coming from? Can you articulate where that value is coming from? If you can, great. But there's an opportunity there to express that there's a level of trust with you. Rebates, programs for companies, if you can get a discount at Sherwin-Williams, by the way, which we all can as realtors, lay that out for them. Say, here's my discount program. I'm the Ryan Reynolds team. We have 20 different discounts that you can get. If you go to National Association of Realtors or OAR, there's discounts. You can get a list of discounts pretty quick and easily that aren't necessarily unique to you. But if you're the only one compiling them into a sheet and handing it to them, then you're the only one that actually has it, right? The other two realtors didn't do it, therefore they don't have it. But again, the value that you're looking at is, think about the part of the transaction, the things that you offer with your agreements. I've heard a lot of times realtors say, well, oh, I don't hold them to a 6-month agreement or whatever. Well, if you don't hold them to that, then put it down in your value proposition. Don't just say it. They want to see it in writing. And I'm not suggesting you do all of these things. I'm just throwing out ideas. We're all realtors. We can do it a bazillion different ways. Pick the way that's right for you and go from there. So let's talk about things that work. What part of these value things work? If they have to be values that are wins for the client, they don't really want to hear about what's good for you. This is kind of remember there was a social media site. It was called MySpace, right? The key of that was my. We live in a world of my and Facebook. It's my face and selfies. Selfies are the genesis. It's not the genesis. It's the selfies are, I don't know, the most fascinating cultural thing I think that's happened to humanity since the beginning of time. We take pictures of ourselves and we post them. And again, I'm sorry for all my selfie people. I've done selfies. We've all done selfies, but it's a fascinating concept. But the general consensus there, the understanding there is people want to hear about what's in it for them. Okay. Your value proposition should be talking about what's in it for them. They need to be offerings that educate the consumer. Tim Reel is fantastic at educating the consumer. So his offerings, which are a little less emotional, but more more informational, is from an educational standpoint. Here's what the recent sales are in the neighborhood. Here's what the average list to sell price has been, or what have you. Those are educational type opportunities, offerings that excite. The clients have to be energized by your value proposition. They have to be exciting. I do a movie night every year that gets them excited. There's emotion now attached to your value proposition, right? You want to cause the client to get involved and it should inspire a conversation and questions. So if your value proposition is talking about, Mr. Seller, I'm not going to lock you into a 1-year agreement. I'm going to do a 6-month, and after we'll do a 30-day review. That would probably inspire a conversation or questions. Well, help me understand that. Do other realtors do 1-year contracts? In fact, they do, especially at the $1 million price point. What they're going to do is lock you in. And what happens after 3 days when you determine they're not following through on everything they've promised, like I am? You know what I mean? You can't fire them. You're stuck. You're stuck for a year. And so there's a conversation, there's a question that comes from the value proposition that might lie within your, as we talked about the last one, within your transaction process, right? But your value proposition should be exciting, it should be interesting, it should inspire conversation, there should be engagement from the consumer, or you're probably not going to win that opportunity. And offerings that impress. There should be a wow factor, and there doesn't always have to be a wow factor, but the best value propositions will make you say, wow, we're going to do a video home tour. We're going to do drone. Even if you've seen drone 100 times, please remember that a lot of people haven't, so continue to wow. They can still be wowed by this. Let's see, you typically, so as part of this, there is an investment of money or risk or time. So for example, time, okay, we do a charity fundraiser every year. We raised over $10,000 for the whatever home network, right? So something to that effect. Well, that took a lot of time, and they're going to appreciate the amount of time you put into to collect all those toys or the food for the food drive, etc. Money. Wow, you do billboards, or you'll take my house and you'll put it into KW Luxury Magazine, for example, Domain Magazine, whatever. That costs you money. So anything that you're investing money in, most likely is part of your value proposition. Don't leave it on the table, okay? What doesn't work? Again, going back to the euphemisms, the blah blah, the unique and unoriginal value proposition. I'm going to work hard and sell your home faster and for more money. I don't know. It's like every realtor has said that 1,000 times. So that doesn't stop them. It doesn't energize them. I'm not saying you can't use that, but I'm saying let's today maybe take it another step and try to get a little more exciting, a little more detailed, a little bit more unique, right? So too narrow of a focus or specific in nature, boasting versus resume. Okay, so when you're when you want to detail out your, so what I mean here is there's a way to articulate your value to them. Okay, I sold 10 houses in this neighborhood in the last 12 months. Okay, that's your resume. You're literally on a job interview and they're going to hire you or not hire you based on what they find out. If you were a 4.0 student from Notre Dame, don't you think you would mention that in an interview? So it's not, there's a lot of wonderful people. I could just see like the Teresa Kennys and stuff of the world having trouble saying what they've done, like bragging, because they're fearful that they'll look pretentious, boastful, and bragging. But you've got to communicate your value. So it's Mr. Seller, Mrs. Seller, I just need you to understand my value. And why does it matter to you that I've sold more houses in this neighborhood than any other realtor? Let's talk about that. It obviously showcases that I understand the value of these properties. I know the builder, I know the park is up the street. I know that, and you're educating, right? Value proposition educates. But again, don't be afraid to talk about your successes. Nobody else is going to. If you don't do it, your competitor is not going to do it. No one is going to do it if you don't do it. Also, if it's untrue or unrealistic, if you can't follow through on it, if you say, I'm going to communicate with you every day, that's part of my value proposition is the best communication. And they've heard from their friends, or I'm going to call you 2 times a day, every day for the next 6 months. It's unrealistic, right? Stay away from those. Now that would be boastful, that meaning you're suggesting you do more than you actually do. And then again, and you can read the rest, that takes no effort or risk. And most importantly, it doesn't solve a problem. What you constantly want to do with all your marketing, which this really is where it's based off of, is off your value proposition. If your value proposition doesn't solve a problem, then then it's not a value. There's no value in it, right? Something that's worthless doesn't, right? It's a backhoe that doesn't have the hoe part of it. That makes it a stick and it's pretty much worthless, right? So there's no value in that stick. So don't talk about things that don't solve a problem. When you look at your, hopefully you guys are kind of writing down what you think your value proposition is and all the different parts. But if it doesn't solve a problem, then there's of no value there. I hope that makes sense. This is actually one of my favorite core thoughts. In kind of all of sales, okay? Your value is going to define your argument. And this is my favorite part. That's why it's in red here. He who frames the argument wins the debate, okay? So, and this is done by broker to broker. This is done from agent to homeowner. But you got to define and this is done in politics. This is done in the media. This is done everywhere. You have to define what the problem is that you can solve and what does it matter to the client. So if the client doesn't find your argument important or of no value, then, well, let me put it a different way. If let me use an example of defining an argument. Well, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, I just sold the one up the street. Okay. And okay, let's use this. We are the biggest brand in Columbus. And so the argument is whoever has the more yard signs in Central Ohio, that then is the person that you should list your house with, right?
What, honey?
I said, just kidding.
Greg, our team lead, is having a class about adding value.
And it's amazing, isn't it, Lorene?
I think Lorene's not muted. There she goes.
I muted her. But anyway, thanks, honey. All right. So
I was like, man, she's really into your class. I love it.
I know, right? I know I'm farther south than normal, so I know y'all are friendly down here, but anyway, so where was I? So okay, so the most yard signs, that's the argument. Now here's the problem for you. Is not for you, but if you can't win that argument, then you need to change the argument. You need to say, okay, so how does having the most yard signs in Columbus, Ohio help you get that buyer from Cincinnati? So let's use, and I apologize. I mean, I'm just going to throw out like names or whatever, because I'm out of Cleveland, for example, from a real estate standpoint. Let's look at, I don't know. There's so many, Fathom, right? Or Rolls Realty or Red One or whatever these guys are, right? So what does it matter, Mr. Seller, how are you going to get the director of IT from Kroger to find your house when they don't know what Rolls Realty or Signature is? They don't know what that is. Like how, so Mr. Seller, I'd ask you, the largest global real estate reach that you're asking me to market your house. And doesn't it make sense that having realtors around the globe, 180,000 is more important than having 112 or 500 or 800? In order to market your home, I'm going to have a network of 180,000 realtors that will all be engaged in this. And that Kroger, that director of IT in Kroger probably knows what Keller Williams is. They have no idea what Howard Hanna is. None. They have no idea what that is, right? Just like you guys probably have never heard of Comey and Shepard. Like, I don't know. I'm Comey and Shepard, just as a side note, anybody, I'm just going to flip around, see if I see any heads nodding and stuff. Well, I see some heads nodding, but that's just because like Scott's falling asleep. My bad.
Cincinnati.
I'm just kidding. Cincinnati. Yes. So a couple people know what that is, right? I got to get back to Dana because I got to see if she's smiling. She's giving me like little indications if I'm doing good or not.
You're doing great. I'm actually smiling because Dawn and I look like twins. Our pictures just came.
Oh my God, that's hilarious.
I was
my
just about
screen.
to put that in the chat.
I know. Right when she popped up, I was like, oh my gosh, we're twins. Okay, but sorry.
So-
That's
Flannel.
So again, define the argument. That is my example of defining the argument, right? So the new argument that the home seller now understands is, well, which company's bigger? Because I want to list my house with the house that has the most agents out there. Well, now that's an argument that nobody can win but us. So you've defined, he who defines the argument wins, right? It's up to you to define the argument. Don't try to win the debate of well, yeah, they sold more. Don't even allow them to own that. Like, don't let the consumer to walk away from the kitchen table thinking that, well, it really does matter who has more yard signs in this neighborhood.
Hey, Greg.
Okay.
One
Yes,
of the things
please.
I think kind of a corollary to that is that he who asks the questions also wins or is in control. And so if you're defining the debate by asking the questions and sort of pushing the seller to ask or the prospect to ask the questions you want to answer, you can almost always win that debate.
Oh, that's beautiful. Yes. Yeah. Thank you. It's a lot of times for the newer agents too. It matters if you're the first one at the table or not. So I got 15 minutes. I better keep moving. I was really pushing myself hard because I want to get to the team part of it too. But compare and contrast the value. Once you understand what your value proposition is, make it very, very clear how that's different than the competition. And in order to do that, you're going to need to know who the competition is. I'll tell you, as I sit here, my number one objective is to really understand who the competitors are so I can compare and contrast the tremendous value that I see here. Right now that I know who they are, it's pretty darn easy. But you got to understand what their value propositions are, what their differences and their strengths and weaknesses are. And I mean that from a real estate standpoint, when you're looking at homeowners and you're up against that Sandy Rains, only because it was brought up earlier that one specific Steve brought up her name. Okay, so if you know what her value is and what her differences and her strengths and weaknesses are, then you can kind of lean right into that, and you can compare and contrast your value proposition with their value proposition. Don't ever trash talk the competitors. Remember, there's absolutely nothing wrong with the way people run their businesses and all that kind of stuff. Really try to stay high-minded, stay above that, and focus on your value. Focus on why you are. But it's hard to do when you're comparing and contrasting, but really just focus on the value that you bring to the table. And then education is fair and key to the process. So education is fair. I really like that one. Don't be afraid to explain Realty One's $275 fee or Howard Hanna. I mean, don't be afraid to talk about their ability or inability to cancel a listing at any time or what have you, right? So if you have a listing here at this office, I believe that, if you wanted to cancel it and do a mutual release, you would grab your own mutual release off the shelf and have them sign it. At HER, they cannot do that. It is up to the broker and the manager if that agent is allowed to release their client from it, because it's a parent-child relationship, not an interdependent relationship. Now, what I just taught you, what I just said there was an educative thing. I wasn't saying anything wrong with that. I just said that's how it is, right? And now once they understand that, they can make a decision on value, which value they prefer better. So what's next? Tell the world what your value is. Now that you know what it is, you need to tell the world. And this is where you start to build your marketing. Your social media should go through each one of those values and communicate that out to the world in different ways. Listing presentation obviously should have that in there. Your website should be talking about that. And you want to practice your scripts. So I was just coming up with random examples off the top of my head. It's much easier when you're talking in reality land and and practice scripts. So Ryan and Jillian can kind of go back and forth on scripts and challenge the validity of your value proposition, right? There might be holes in it. You want to make sure you get those out of the way before you get to the kitchen table. Find other agents with it. So now we're going to roll into the team as quick as possible because I do find this to be super, super important. Find other agents with the same general feeling and value that you have. So Troy Marsh, for example, was very caring and kind. It would be really weird if you had a money motivated person sitting next to him who really only cared about, like statistical, numerical, very cold, still value in that, but it's just different. And so you want to partner with people who have that sort of like-mindedness with your value proposition, and then begin to build a value proposition for those agents. So now that you have what you have, as you start to grow your business, I want the rainmakers and the team leaders and everybody to kind of listen up, including myself. So understand I'm talking to myself. And it really is hilarious that Dana and Don are wearing the exact same shirt. Okay. If you haven't seen that yet, take the time to check it out. It's hilarious. Let's see. I need to hold on. Command Shift 4. And this is where we screen capture that for future use. Okay. Team value proposition. This is one of the most important aspects of a team. A team is a group of people with different skills and different tasks who work together on a common project, service, or goal with a meshing of functions and mutual support. I like the word common, and I think that's super, super important. But it is, that's truly what a team is. And if your team, you're like, oh, I have a real estate team, and they're not meshing together, and there's no commonality to it. It's just, they're all like, if they're all just lumping their production together, that's not a team. It's not going to work. How many times do you think I've seen that? Right, Dana, have you ever seen that before? Where two different people like go, well, if we just do this, we'll call ourselves a team and have more volume. Literally, the shelf life of that is 6 months to a year max. Troy, ever seen that one before? Right? I mean, it's literally very, very common where people try to do that. And the reason
also, Greg, with that, the issue also is that what they don't realize is it's going to end up costing more money in the long run because you're redoing, you know what I mean? You're redoing everything.
Yeah, it's like, because you got to tear down 2 sandcastles and build a new one. And that's if you're wise enough to do that, or you're coached along to understand that you have to do that. It's like, anyway, but again, commonality is what you want. You will not attract or retain the members. So do not start a team if you don't have a clear, impactful value proposition for them. Okay. People have to understand what they're coming to. It's basically expectation setting. You want to have that right expectation set. Even though you can get somebody, I'll give you a bazillion leads when they come. And if you give them no leads, then they're going to leave. You have no retention. And I would say one of the number one problems that this office has is retentive value of the teams themselves. Okay. So people are trying to build teams, but they're not holding on to the people long-term. I mean, for years, I have somebody that's going to leave real estate. She's been on my team now for 11 years. So, I mean, like when people join your team, they should know what they're getting into. And that's going to help you in the long run for retention. And you just don't want that revolving door because the cost of a hire is extremely expensive, and it's just exhausting to just try to keep refilling that bucket with the holes in it. So how do we bring people that will stick? It's by laying out the foundation first and foremost and letting them be attracted to your true value proposition that's unique, that you can deliver on. And that, well, here, it's simple, it's made clear. That's expectation set. Broad enough so that you can entice a larger number of people. It needs to be broad. Like your value needs to benefit lots of people, not just individuals. Like don't build your value proposition around that one agent that you've been trying to get for the last 2 years, right? Make it broad enough so that it will attract a larger group, because over the future, in order to have a long careered business or a team or a business, you need to have something that many people can be attracted to. Make it attainable and deliverable. Do not promise something you can't deliver. Let's see, make it unique. Offer something of true value that's not easily obtained. A diamond has its value because it can't be found everywhere. Business cards is not something of great value. So if you say, hey, come to my team, I'll get you business cards and headshots and give you leads, I can get literally, what team doesn't do what I just said? Do you know what I'm saying? So that's not unique, and it's not going to, even if you get them originally with that, it's not going to retain them long-term because they can go anywhere and get that. So what's next? Tell the world what your value is. I guess what I want to get at, let me make sure I didn't miss this because, oh wait, hold on. Give me 1 second. Hold on for a second. Yeah, let me bounce through this. What's next? Tell the world. Sorry about that. I think I skipped a slide there too. Team value. I did. Thank you. All right, here. I'm going to bounce because of time. Well, I went through that. I'm not going to bounce. I'm right on time. This is my favorite slide. This is what I built it on. What team members are looking for. It's not just leads. Oh my God, if I hear one more, I don't have enough leads to add any more people to my team. Or they went somewhere because they were promised leads. That's the problem of value. Value is what you think is value is not what they might think is value. I'm so excited Don's taking a picture. That means there's value in this slide. Anyway, one thing that I know as a fact, I would say one of the most important values of a team is being somebody that actually cares about the person. The world of real estate is like Troy Marsh, for example. How many people are at this office because of Troy Marsh? If I hear that one, no, I'm kidding. Good job, Troy. People like the guy. You know why? Because he cares about them. I already know that. I'm here actually because I know he cares enough to keep pouring into me to help me. I'm here because Dana cares. It's about, when I ask people why you're at Keller Williams Consultants, I don't hear anybody start off with leads. Like it's just not why are we doing that? Because we're letting the competition define the argument. We're letting the competition say, well, we have leads and then we just like lean into that as that's the argument. The argument isn't that. It's like, you know what we have people who care about your career. We have people, and again, I don't mean to like go into, I'm trying to not always just use my personal example, but in a situation, in a forum where I can't talk to you guys or hear your stories, it's hard for me to do, but someone who cares is extremely important. The training and education is another thing I hear all the time. Administrative support. Not every team has an administrator that's going to help. And oh, by the way, don't forget that the office, people always leverage down, like team leaders, rainmakers leverage downward, meaning let's go hire an administrator. Don't forget to leverage upward. Okay. Like meaning Keller Williams, there's Ignite, there's Bold, there's MAPS coaching, there's a productivity coach, there's me, people never, like I never see rainmakers really leverage up to make their life easier. If you have 5 people on your team, have them go to Ignite. Why are you trying to train them? Just send them to Ignite. That's what we do. Like, it's a beautiful thing. It's a win-win, of course. Coaching, consulting, troubleshooting, client proposition, the commission split. What you want to do on your team is create a commission split that is commensurate with the value provided. So here's a Keller Williams slide that I absolutely love. And I'm going to skip down to it. This one, love it. The 5 pillars of value, right? So you're saying, well, what? And I think I had this conversation earlier today with somebody. Your split should be based on the amount of value that you're offering to the agent that's on your team. So if you have a great personality, there's a lot of people that have teams, they have a great personality. The problem with that is people are going to enjoy that for a while, but then leave because they can find another team leader with a great personality. Well, so your split should be very generous, let's say. Like, you shouldn't be taking too much money because all you're providing is a friendly conversation and a warm body. If you offer training, okay, now you can take a little bit more. If you offer training, support, because you have administrative help, they're doing the yard signs, the photography, all this and that, all of a sudden you can start to take a little bit more. Because people always ask me, well, what's my split for my team? It varies based on how much value you're providing. The leads, okay, I'm giving you a lead, but that's not an appointment. A lead is just a Zillow. Somebody called in and said they're interested. An appointment is, my brother Joe is about to list his house. I need you to go out and list it. And so then you can take more of the commission for that. So when you're building your value proposition, part of it is a commission structure that marries and matches the amount of value that you're giving. So as a team leader and a rainmaker, you've got to consider that. I can't tell you how many teams I've talked to since I got here that just have an inequality in the value in the trade distribution between what you're asking the agent to do versus what you're offering and the commission split associated with that. Okay, so I really hope the rainmakers out there, this is the kind of the key point I hope they will really think about in 2021. Because if you can get the equation correct, you're going to have better retention. Better retention means the size of your team will grow, more volume, more sales for the office, for yourself, for your lives, more GCI. It's a win. What's next when you have that value is, again, you've got to promote that. So a lot of people want to grow a team, but they never put a post out there that says I'm hiring. My number one question, I'm almost like Gary Keller always says, do you have your 135? Like, don't talk to me until you do. So if somebody's like, well, gosh, I want to grow my team. If I go to your social media right now, anywhere, LinkedIn, anywhere, are you telling the world that you're hiring? Because if not, I'm not going to have this conversation with you. Right? You got to put a post out there that says we're hiring. Okay. And then you can show that you're genuinely trying to grow your team. And my hope is that everybody has, I love the empire builders out there, because those are the people that inspire me and motivate me just to help grow. And an empire builder can be somebody with one individual business that wants to grow their own volume in their own business. But also it can also be somebody that's looking to grow 5, 10, 20, 30, 100 agents, 200 agents. You absolutely can do it. So don't ever let anyone tell you that you can't. I will never be that person. So, and I knew I'd never be able to do this in an hour, but I think I did, actually. I think I did. I'm just kind of perusing it. Administrative values of accountability. By the way, number one question, accountability. Everybody says they want accountability. I want you to ask them, rainmakers, what does accountability look like to you? What does that mean to you? Understand what they see as value. Understand what they see as accountability, right? It doesn't matter what you think accountability is. It matters what they see it. So if they allow you, first you ask permission for accountability. Say, will you allow me to hold you accountable? Second, say, what does that look like to you? Is that daily calls? Is that quarterly calls? Is that, what does that look like to you? Because some people will find tons of value in the autonomy of your team, and others will find value in the daily phone call where you're holding them accountable to their numbers, to their calls, to whatever it is that you're. So, for example, Todd Berrien, right? Daily meetings every single day. He's having daily meetings. But my team, there are people. My number one agent, I think I talk to her twice a year, and it's fine, and she loves it, and I love it. It's good. She's happy. I'm happy. Life is good. Todd, every single day. So, every agent is going to have a different level of accountability that they'd like to have. So I see what's happening there.
Be it a team leader or be it an individual agent, accountability to yourself is one of the most important things.
Amen. Yes. I love it. Administrative help. Administrative help can mean a bunch of different things. You got to lay it out. So administration help on that value to that team, to the team member. Please don't think that one admin does the same on every team, like they're all the same. They could do as you see in the red down there, bill pay, accounting, marketing, listing preparation. Do they get the agents paid, client events, care calls? What do these administrators do? And make sure you lay that out for them so they understand what value is coming from administrative. Accountability, we talked about. Marketing value. Do you have drip campaigns set up specifically for them? Can they leverage your brand and all of the things you've already done? Do you do calendars every year? All they have to do, load in their photo and they're good to go. Do you have a social media marketing plan? Have you leveraged, Dana, what's the name of our social media that she just spoke today? Leveraged opportunities? Yeah. So if your team has leveraged opportunities, obviously, then, you know, bring that up. That's value. Again, if you don't bring it up, no one else will. Brand of the team versus brand of the agent. Another huge thing, ask yourself, I mean, every individual human being has their own brand, whether you like it or not. So the Ryan Reynolds team, for example, fantastic brand. The agents on your team obviously it's the same thing as Target and Starbucks coming together. Their brand is more powerful that way. Ryan, if you have somebody on your team, they have their own gift that, quite frankly, like their own set of gifts that God gave them. Leverage those, let them build, like extrapolate their brand. Don't be afraid they'll take their brand and leave, because their brand is inherently tied to yours. Together, you guys will be stronger. And if they don't see that, that's on you, because there's this thing called value drift. And I apologize because I'm short on time, but I want to hit those real important ones I want to get across to you. Value drift is so terribly important, because if you don't continually repeat what the value is of being on your team, Ryan, for example, then those agents aren't going to appreciate it. And it's called value drift. So it matters to continue, as your job as a leader is to remind the folks of the value that they're getting that they wouldn't get elsewhere. And it seems like it's sort of like, I don't know how to explain it in the right way, other than I hope it's understood. That if you don't remind them of the value, they will forget, and they're going to hear a new argument, and that new argument is going to have more validity, more power in their brain, because they forgot, like, gosh, if I go over there, I do lose all of this. I forgot about that. Does that make sense? So it's called value drift. Your job as a rainmaker is to protect against value drift all the time. And I don't know. I hope you guys are getting as much of that concept out of it as that I did, because it was a huge paradigm shift when my coach taught me that. And it really helped us with our retentive value on our team. A lot of people say, well, you only sell so much, Greg, because you got 160 agents, but they never ask the magical question of how in the world do you keep 160 independent contractors staying on your team? Like, that's retention. We're not losing anybody. We're not losing anybody because we fight against value drift. We're constantly pouring into them, and we're innovating we're adding to our value proposition. I think a lot of times people establish it and then say, well, we're good here. You've got to add innovations. You've got to add new things of value to continue the retentive value of that, as well as the attraction of new talent. Coaching value. Please don't forget that if you're a rainmaker, that means you've had success. A lot of agents will find value, not just in the fact that you care about them, but also in the fact that you, like you'll go on a listing with them. Their first listing, I'll go with you. That alone would lock down every new agent that comes out of Hondros. The mere fact that you just said on your first listing appointment, I will go with you. Forget leads. I don't need to talk about leads. If I tell them that, they're coming. If they know I care about them and that I'm going to mentor them and coach them, that value will outweigh all other value. I don't care what my split is, because Ryan's going to take me under his wing. He's a badass. He's going to take me, you know what I mean? Like that's value. So don't undercut or undersell that, because it's super, super important. Troubleshooting. If somebody's on your team, they want those challenges and those problems to be resolved quickly without any, like hassle. So, the inspection, the appraisal was short. The inspection didn't come out great. They're on your team because you're going to help them troubleshoot and get through that. Make sure you let them know that you're going to help them through that process. And then I think I'm overshooting. I'm trying not to go more than 10 minutes over, and I think I can pull this off. Your value proposition, your story, like how long have you been in business, things like that. There's value. If they get to walk in and then leverage the number of sales you've already had, or you've been in business for 10 years, you're a well-established brand. That's all value that they cannot get on their own. When they come out of Hondros, or if they're on a different team that had no brand, that had nothing, don't forget to talk about that. What makes you different as a team? And you just need to talk about that story all the time. Everyone needs an elevator speech, and the team needs to understand that elevator speech. If you have a team and they can't articulate the value proposition the same way that you can, then you need to script and roll. You need to make sure that they get that. It's exactly what Gary Keller does to all his team leaders. Me and Troy, I hope to be anywhere close to Troy at some point as far as the elevator speech or the understanding of the value of Keller Williams to its depth. And And then leads value, again, it's not about leads, but leads can be a part of it. Obviously people want leads, but understand, is it a team lead? Is an agent self-procured lead? I mean, determine how your team's going to run when it comes to that. I guess our number one lead source is the agent sphere of influence themselves. So we got 160 people with at least 25 friends, right? That's an infinite pool that I can dive into to pull more business from and perpetuate my brand across, all of those yard signs, et cetera. If you give out leads, there needs to be accountability to that. I could probably do a whole class just on this second section, so I apologize. I probably overdid it. But I hope you guys are getting I hope there's a flow here and that you guys are getting what you need out of this. And then this is the final slide. So get growing. Put all this together in a recruiting book, video, or just in your head, but make it concise as possible, easy to understand. Adding members to your team. That's what you want to do. If they are a good fit for you, it's a great way to increase your income and add more time to your life. Leverage, leverage, leverage. I came up with myself this thing called leads leverage. No, I'm kidding. But anyway, it's an amazing. Another question nobody asked me is like, how can you possibly do these other opportunities when you've got this large team? It's because I have so much leverage, and it's been such a gift from Gary Keller, and this concept of building a life worth living and a business worth having. I mean, it's all of those things that I hopefully was able to inspire you to get going on. But come from abundance, create a value proposition where there's no limit to your success. Something that benefits not only you, but remember, value propositions benefit the client. In this case, the client is absolutely the agents on your team. The agents on your team will fire you if you don't provide something of value that they want, okay? And that's where we talk about retention. If every team at KW Consultants can start holding on to all of their agents by pouring more value into them one-on-one, that's your job. That's not the office's job, you're right? The office is supposed to be providing you value, and we will do that, right? And I know we are doing that we just need to articulate it, make sure that people are engaging it. But this is about the rainmakers right now. The rainmakers need to stop for a moment and figure out how can they give more love, more energy, and more effort to the agents on their team than they ever have before. I promise you, if you retain everybody you have and you grow 3, 4, 5 more people on your team, at the end of 2021, you will have volume and numbers like you've never seen before. And I coach people, and it's already where I know this works. I know this will work for them. And you'll have more time in your life to spend with your family, to just the quality of life. You'll be able to give more charitably. You'll have more GCI. It's a win. The thing at Keller Williams is once you get past your cap, it's like there's literally no limit. So, I cap in about a week, right? After that, it's all 100%. And I'm not trying to sound, please, I say this out of care and concern for you guys. I say this out of inspiration. And again, I'm small fry compared to some of these big boys that'll dwarf me in 2 seconds. And those people will say the same thing to me. Greg, you're not thinking big enough. Gary Keller says the biggest problem with people is their dreams. They start out and they're not big enough. And so I'm just trying to inspire and stretch your mind just a little bit for 2021. Any questions?
Nice job, Greg. Thanks.
Oh, thank you, Steve.
Thank you.
Any questions or anything? I know I went over 12 minutes. Shame on me. I guess I should just do that now. Put a buffer at the end of every training I do. But Jillian, any questions? I know you're going to get tasked with some additional value adds, I think. But
When's the next get together?
Well, you know what? On Mondays, I'm just kind of doing an open forum on Mondays from 8 to 9. I hope you guys saw that. Command your morning, kind of a concept. I want you guys to, I'm talking to the big boys too, the big team leaders and stuff too. I know y'all don't get up at 8 o'clock. I know Dana does. I don't know if I'll ever get to where she is. She gets up, but what time do you get up every day? Masochist.
Depends on the day.
It's like 5 or 6 or something. She doesn't even want to say. I can't do it. I'm sorry, Dana. I'm up at 6:50 now, which I never thought I'd say. 6:50. I'm doing good. I'm getting there.
Great. You made it before 7.
I did by 10 minutes. It's just like this. Yeah, it's like the frog in the boiling water thing, right? Just turn it up little by little. I'll get there. John Clark, any questions? Barb Gale, anything? Scott?
Great job. Lots of value. You need to do part 2 of this.
Yeah, I could slow down. If you guys want to give some feedback or anything like that, just let me know. Maybe, yeah, I'm gonna, you know what, Troy, oh gosh, he's gone. Cool. I can out him to you guys. See, this is the value of being on training. So Troy is going to be our educational ALC person, right? So you guys can kind of let him know what you think would be a value. If there's more of this you want, or if you want me to slow down, or if you guys, but today this was more conceptual for me. After I've sat and talked to so many rainmakers in this office, I just saw an opportunity to kind of help them stop for a moment and build a listing presentation, quite frankly, for agents. If every team in this office could add 5 or 10 people to their team, like, I'm gonna look like a rock star. And it's all about you guys. I can only succeed through you guys. You guys have to be the ones that grow your downlines, that make a bunch of money. If you all make money, I'll get to stick around for a little bit longer.
Is the
Sounds
8 to
really
9
good.
Monday meeting on this same Zoom connection?
Say that, Don. Monday 8 to 9 is, quite frankly, open forum for any agent, new agents, any agent. It's just, that's more of, when before COVID, you could just walk to my door frame and just say, hey, Greg, I got a question about this or that or something. And because we don't have that, I kind of want to have a virtual open door. So
Is it on this same Zoom connection? That's what I'm asking.
oh, that Zoom, that's actually posted, I know, on the internal Facebook business, KW Consultants business Facebook. I believe it is.
Yeah. Hey, Greg, it's Angela. So I'm gonna. It's Angela. I'm gonna send out the weekly recap this week, and it's gonna have your open door video, and it's also gonna have the link. It's a special link. It's not our normal link,
Okay,
but it will be the same every week.
good.
Barb, and I'm thinking if we can plan for, meeting number 2, that'll give us time to marinate on some of this stuff that you've discussed, and there might be an opportunity for more questions at that time.
Okay, I love that. Yeah. Okay, yeah, I'll,
Maybe Greg, something lighter, maybe like 30 minutes, and then 30 minutes of Q&A at the end.
30 minutes. I can't even say good morning in 30 minutes. You know that. All right, I'll try. We'll figure it out. We'll post it out there, but I'm glad apparently there was some value here. And, but I really am passionate about it. I'm kind of giving you everything I got. I really want consultants to be the most unfair advantage to anyone's real estate business in Central Ohio, or in the state, quite frankly. We're going to do some special things this year. I'm pretty jacked up and excited about it because the talent's already here. Now we just need to take everything that Gary's given out and just literally take it from him and get it to you. The thing I love about Dana is she's literally just one step away from Gary directly. Actually, she can call him right now. I'll pick up. You're right. And she gives you that information, and it's, he's a billionaire. He's a genius. He's created something for agents that no other brokerage has. I'm not trying to I guess I am a homer now for Keller, but I made a conscious decision to stay with Keller for the long term, especially with the new modifications in his long-term vision moving forward. You literally can't find that anywhere else. This is the ship I want to be on when it all goes down, because we are going to sail right through it.
It's hard to do what you just did in an hour.
Oh, thanks, Don.
A lot of stuff you can expound on at length, I can tell, and then maybe we could take it in little less bites that'd get us a lot more questions.
All right. Well, I'll work on that. I'll be honest. I'll share with a final thought. My one little fear is that I wouldn't have enough content and I'd run out of things to talk about, and there wouldn't be enough value for you guys.
Yeah,
So
well, we always have that when we do a class, like, oh God, I got to have this long list of stuff because if I run out, what am I going to do?
well, we'll try to just take like Barb said, just marinate on a couple of these points. Really take a moment, and if anything else, just write down what you think your value proposition is. Write it all down, everything from the administrative, the contractual, to the marketing, to the, and just write it down, what you think it is. And then how can you really, I know you're going to believe in it because it's who you genuinely are. And then how can you articulate that out to not just the homeowners and clients, but also to your team, and how can you help them express it to their homeowners? So I'm going to let you all go. I'm now 18 minutes over. So I'm going to let you go. I appreciate all your time and investment here. We'll do a little bit more. I hope there was some value here, but boy, if I could get these, if I see a lot of team leaders still left on the line, if you guys could grow some pretty big businesses inside Keller Williams Consultants this year, where the consultants is going to win like never before. And that's going to help with the investors and profit share and everything else. So, all right, guys. Well, I will talk to you later. Thank you so much. If you have any questions, I'm available. Everybody on the line here, anybody that comes to my classes gets extra special treatment. So you can call me directly, whatever you want.
Oh, thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Love it.
Thanks, Greg.
Troy, you had a question? Oh, Troy was saying thanks, Greg. All right. Talk to you later then. Bye, guys.
Bye, thanks.